So, hi everyone. I want to do a video, and this is gonna be the realest video I've ever done. Not to say that the other videos that I do are not real, but this is the realest, the rawest. And this video is for every parent, every leader, every school leader, everybody in education, everybody in sports. Everybody needs to watch this video. Every child, every adult needs to watch this video. Now, I'm just going to introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Gemma Watson, and I wear many hats. I coach, I train, I mentor, and I consult. And I'm not going to get into all of that at the moment. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm just calling it all out because in this year, we've had so much going on. We've been talking about Black Lives Matters. We've been talking about well-being. We've been talking about what we need to be doing for our young people. In fact, we've been saying this for decades now. Yeah, we've been saying it for years. We were saying it when knife crime started to go on the rise. We've been saying it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Here's what I'm saying. No more talk, innit? Just action. So I woke up this morning and I was having a conversation with someone. And I tell people that when you start following your heart, everything falls into place. All the things you doubted, all the things you saw as an obstacle, all become an opportunity. So I'm having this conversation and I'm talking about some kids I used to work with, yeah? And I kid you not, at the same time, I'm having a bit of fire in my belly because when I'm inspired, that's when magic happens. And about half an hour in the conversation, in fact, probably a bit more, but after talking about this particular individual, I then see her picture. And I was like, if that's not a sign to get your message out, then I don't know what is. Because I was talking about us in education. And I was saying there's so much more. It's not that the kids remember. So here we go. I'm going to call it out. To every young person that's watching this, for every parent that's watching this, for every educational leader, for anyone that's in sports. If this causes offense, who knows that when you're offended, it's because it's hit a nerve. Yeah, not because someone's tried to cause offense intentionally. So what I say is just my truth. I'm not saying it's any particular parent, young person, education establishment, or sports environment. What I'm saying is this is what goes on in the world. And it's important that we start talking about this stuff. It's important that we start calling it out. So here I am calling it out. So in total, my education experience is 15 years. And in my educational experience, I've worked with a number of amazing young people, some that are in different sporting environments, some that are acting, some that have gone on to do so many things, whether they've gone to do degrees or not, doesn't matter, they're just being amazing people. And here's what I found in my time of education. While it was filled with a lot of amazing moments and my passion grew and that taught me a lot of stuff, here's what I also found. I remember taking on a year group, and I remember not knowing this year group. And in fact, I looked young, so they thought I looked like a sixth former and was like, who's this sixth former? And here I was, thrusted in this new world. And I just knew that I wanted to make a difference. Anyway, within this first year group that I had, I met some amazing people, too, that are the face of my project right now. And I could have made anybody that because I met, as I said, amazing young people. But let me talk to you about this one girl. First of all, I'm going to give you loads of stories. And then I'm going to tell you why this message is for everybody individually. I met this amazing girl, Leah Oliver. And what I always saw of Leah was that she was liked by everybody. And it reminded me of how I was in school because I spoke to everybody. No one had a bad word to say about her. And it wasn't the fact she was cool or popular and, all these things. But she just came to school and got on with it. She did her work. She excelled in her lessons. And I remember having a conversation. There was a showcase. There was a dance showcase. And I remember having a conversation with the head at the time. And the head said, you've got to pick your student of the year and your all-rounder student. And who's that going to be? Now, you pick it for the person in year 11. This was the end of year 10 showcase. And I was like, okay, it's going to be Aaliyah. And this is what the head teacher said to me. Really? I thought you was going to say, and she gave me the name of the other student. I said, let me tell you something. I said, this girl is underrated. She doesn't brag. She doesn't boast. She gets on with it. This girl moved so many different places within her time. And at no point was she, did I think, oh my gosh, she's neglected. Oh my gosh, she's, at all. Let me tell you about this girl, what happened one day. So I'll never forget this. And as I say these experiences, some of these young people are going to be like, swear that happened. And oh my gosh, you realize this. Early in the morning, I'm upstairs getting ready because the students are coming in. And, you know, this young lady, she's coming to school. And in the morning, what would happen is they had a system where the kids would have to show their pencil case before they come into school, which is mad because it's like, it's so armified. Anyway, so she's come to school. As I said, if you looked at her school file, I don't think she even had a fight, right? Not like, I just don't think it's possible. And she came into school. I wasn't downstairs. I was upstairs at the time. Anyway, she's come upstairs, which was on the second floor of the building. And she's come up, and behind her is the director of behavior behind her. And he's kind of saying, and she said to me, Miss, talk to this guy. Bear in mind, this student doesn't ever cause any issues. In which case, when they're causing issues, what I say is, it's telling you something. It's explaining how they feel. Yeah, they are children. Yeah, there's some adults that still don't know how to regulate how they feel. Yeah. So he comes behind and, Miss, she hasn't shown me the pencil case. And I'm like, it's first thing in the morning and a young person is saying that they need to speak to me. What do you think we're going to do? Sit down and have tea and biscuit? Like, there's something there. Anyway, so he's like, no, well, you know, I just feel at the end of the day, there needs to be a detention and all about the sanction. That's the first thing. Why? Because you've defied me. You've not followed my instruction. I just feel like very armified. That's just my point. And anyway, he goes, I'm gonna leave you with this, Miss Watson, because that's your year group. That was the consensus. Anyway, we get to talking, and guess what? Her nan had passed away. And all in my mind, I just thought, and you're handing her for a pencil case. But this girl still came into school. This girl still took part on every event. She was on student leadership. She served her school. And how many people outside of me knew that? How many people built that relationship that she could communicate that with them? And when I said she was going to be student of the year, because that was what a student of the year should get. It's not about how you sing and dance. It's not about, although she could sing and dance, it wasn't about that. It was about what you're celebrating. And I celebrated. I mean, I could have gave that to so many kids, if I'm honest. If they gave me more options, there was loads. And I'm going to give you another example. A young guy called Reese Brown. Reese. I used to call this boy my brother. And, you know, I stick by it. These young people, they're like family. It takes a village. They're the community. And I still stand by that. That's little bro. But I remember Reese Brown. I remember our first interaction. And from what I understand, the school wanted to get rid of him because he was what they described as aggressive. And I met this young man when he came into year 10. And I remember he was playing with his friends and they almost barged me in. I was like, whoa. Anyway, senior leader came and shouted them down and whatever. And when the school leader went, I spoke to the boys. And I said, boys, and we were talking about role models. And I said, who are your role models? And I'll never forget, Reese was like, I don't have none. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have none? And he was like, well, he thought a role model needed to be within your circle, within your family circle. And I was like, a role model could be anybody. And we developed this relationship that he saw me as a role model, but the truth of it is he was a role model to me because the embody of the change that he created and what he was fighting against, you know, he lost friends. He lost friends to knife crime, like many of our young people. And I'll never forget one day he was in sixth form, which in itself is a milestone because the school went to get rid of him when he was in year 8, year 9. And he was in sixth form. And guess what? I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was in my office, but the kids had run to me and was like, Miss Watson, come, Reese needs you. And there I go, running down the corridor. You can imagine this going on in school. And I'm running. Reese is going mad. And bear in mind, anybody I mentioned in this video, I've got permission to use their photos and I'll tell their story. So if anyone's worried about it, just want to put that out there. And I get to Reese, and Reese is crying. He's hysterical. And I go down on the floor, and I say, Reese, it's Miss Watson. I'm here. And at the time, I had a colleague, because he was going nuts, wanted to throw tables and stuff. My colleague has got him in a hold. I said, don't worry, sir. Take him off. And he stopped, and we started to talk. And he's talking to me and he was crying. He was like, you know, I just lost my 2 friends. I don't understand. They were friends. How can they kill each other? How can one kill one? And like, he was just so confused with it all. And then we were talking about a situation that he had gone through. And, you know, some guys had said, come around the corner and all of that type of stuff. And I remember one time saying to his head of year, and I said, you know what? One day she said to me, is he all right? And I said, you know what? He's just dealing with a lot like most of our kids. And I said, you know the situation that happened in Fulton Heath, the killing. I said, he knew both of them. They were both his friends. Now, I thought that would have solicited a compassionate response. Here's what I was told. Now, a lot what I'm going to say, if any of those professionals watch it, while I'm not going to say their name, I hope it rings a chord about your practice, because it's not outstanding. It's not good. It's really inadequate. But we'll get into that. But this is what the colleague said. You lie with dogs, you catch fleas. This is what we've got when people are saying, I'm here to inspire and help young people. But that's what you say. I'm going to talk about some other students. Now, I'm not going to put no pictures up here. But we used to have, I'm going to shout out to a colleague and a dear friend, Justin Williams, right now. But he created this peer mentoring group called Spartans. And Spartans was like an alternative leadership program. And I've developed my own now called Fly, because it's about young people flying high. Yeah. And I remember when Justin showed me how the program goes, and ultimately what would happen is you'd have to lead your year group within the Spartans. And there was ranking. And the whole idea of this was you was going to find the students that didn't have confidence, maybe displayed their emotions in what some people class as a negative way, or whatever their need was, and you was going to mentor them, and they were going to mentor each other, and they would support the school's behavior system. And within that, they would get workshops and training and all sorts, and develop them as an individual. Because who knows if you're in education and if you're in sport, but who knows if you're not ticking all the boxes, you don't get opportunities. Here's my question, and here's what I've always said to people. If you don't give someone the opportunities to develop, where do they develop? I remember having this conversation with my head teacher in another school, and we were talking about recruitment. And he said, well, for one, paying for the wage, I want someone that is already there. I want someone that is fully developed. And I said, well, what does that say about your leaders? Because your leaders are supposed to nurture and cultivate the potential that they see in front of them. It's the same thing with young people. And in this program, you know, I was fortunate to run 3 years of different year groups with it. And the last year group, in fact, the second to last year group, I remember when they came to me, the head was like, I'm done. I don't want them. They're the worst they've ever been. Now, here's where I say perspective is everything. She said they were the worst their schools ever had. But yet still, these young people was not managed within their program, which I'm not going to get into a failing of that. But although they wasn't managed, guess what these young people did? They did their break duty every single day. Yeah, they ate crisps while they were doing break duty. Who told them they could not to do different? They wasn't managed. But they showed up every single day. And the focus was on the fact that they were eating at break time. Not actually that, but they weren't managed, but they did this. They carried this a whole year. Could you imagine? Kids, about 20 kids, delivering every single day their break duty, missing their break, missing their lunch, with no management, with no direction. For me, that just shows me that you've really got leadership skills. So I remember doing a proposal, and I outlined how it was going to be. And I sat them down and I said, I need you lot to know this is the situation you're in, because I've always been about full disclosure. And I read them the proposal and I said, this is what we got to do. And we did lose some people along the way. It happens. You know, anything you're doing in life. However, let me explain. Those young people have gone on to do so much amazing things, and they're being amazing people. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes, they are. Of course they are. My last Spartans, now I left them in year 10 because I had to make a decision about my own life and what it meant to be a role model and a leader. And I decided that I needed to be great to be able to tell you to be great. And unfortunately, I was in an environment that there was a glass ceiling. However, when I left, when I realized my impact, I wear a ring on my chain. And they bought this. They saved this up. And they all put money together. And these were the kids. Bear in mind, as I said, it was an alternative leadership group. Yeah? But these are the kids that school have written off. These are the kids that school are going to say, you know what, they don't have confidence, they don't speak, or you know, they don't cause a problem, so we don't need to invest in them. Or, you know, they're displaying behavior issues, they're getting fights, they're aggressive, they're threatening. These are the words that was thrown to these young people. These are the young people that organized the video all by themselves. These are the young people that decided to get together and buy me this. This is something I'll have for the rest of my life. It's just a symbol of the impact, of the care, of what they felt they got. And I remember at the end of the term, one of the things we used to do was to do thank you cards. And every time, you know, an assistant head used to be like, I don't understand. How is it you get the biggest pile? I've never seen nothing like this. No, I don't say this to have a big head. I don't say this to gloat and say nobody else doesn't have what I have. I'm not here to say that. What I'm here to tell leaders that are serving others, it is important and it is time to really show what you feel and about your intention, your passion. If you haven't watched that video that I did and I put it up yesterday, please go and check that out. Yeah, the same way you found this is the same way you can find the other one. But my piles were always massive. And they're thank you cards. And I will keep these for life because it's a reminder of why I do what I do. Now I've got loads of stories. I can mention so many kids. You know, Bobby Martin, top set student in the top of her class. And I remember this young lady not having much confidence. I see her now and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she oozes confidence. And I remember taking her under my wing. And that took a lot of time, sometimes out of lesson, which teachers don't want. No, we need them to be a lesson. Here's the truth of it. If they're stuck in your lesson and not getting certain things that they need, it's like you can't win. You have them after school, they say it's like a youth club. You have them during break, you can't, because guess what? You're on duty. And it's like education. What are you doing? Sports environment, what are you doing? What are you cultivating? What are you really producing? Because guess what? There's talent, but also there's talent behind, there's a person behind the talent. What are you doing for that person? Now, recently, there was a young boy, he committed suicide. It's been everywhere. And we're saying it's a loss, it's a sad loss. What are we doing about it? We're talking about it, great. But what are we doing? I know I've been knocking on doors for clubs and everybody wants it, but nobody wants to put money to it. It's the same with education. There's a lot of companies, we're emailing and nobody wants to put money behind it. Come on, show me what it is you're doing. Anyway, this young lady, you know, I remember I gave her an award and was sitting there and, you know, I'm sitting on a table, round table, and her mum's there, and her mum's like, you know what, I just want to thank you for everything you've done for my child, because I've been asking for her to have a mentor, someone that can guide her since primary school. But listen to this now. But because she never displayed it in any type of behavior, and because she was in her top set, they were always like, she doesn't need it. She's like, but you saw. And what's crazy is I never spoke to that mum. The mum had never asked me. I guess by that time she just forgot. She just got tired of asking. And that's never left me. I'm going to talk about another student. Lauren Hunter. I remember this young lady, and, you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but she developed something that I know, hands down, maybe another school, another head of year, she probably wouldn't have got the results because they didn't know what to do. And I remember the first idea, whenever she had, you know, she suffered panic attacks, and whenever she had a panic attack, it was like, call the ambulance. But this is a top set student supposed to get all A's. And I remember sometimes having her in my office. I remember sometimes just, you know, having to feed her. Oh, lunchtime's over now. What? And, you know, a lot of these girls that I've spoken about, and a lot of these young people went on to go into uni, but it's not about university. I'm going to talk about another student, actually, Unity. I remember in year 10, because what I used to do is I used to take year groups from 10 and 11. And I remember Unity said to me, I remember this girl used to wear coloured socks and not have shoes in a school building. Could you imagine that? And I remember one day saying to her, what do you want to be? And she said to me, I want to be a lawyer. And she said, but I don't think I can be a lawyer because of my behaviour. And I said, who told you that? Ironically, what she maybe didn't know, because I don't remember if I said it to her, that's what I wanted to be in school. That's what I wanted to be. And I said the same thing. But guess what? I didn't have no one guiding me. And I remember having a conversation with an English teacher at the time. And I was saying, you know, she has so much aspirations. In fact, I don't think it was an English teacher. I think it was just another teacher in English. And I remember talking about her aspirations and her goals, and I said, you know, she wants to do some amazing things. She wants to be a lawyer. Here's what I got told. She could never be a lawyer. Look how she acts. This is what we've got, people. When you're serving people and that's your underlining intention, that's what the thought you're rolling with. So I ask you, do you want the best for these kids? Got another young lady, Michaela Brown. I mean, I could give names and names and names and names and put faces to names all day long. And Michaela Brown, you know, I speak to all these kids now. But Michaela Brown, I remember, picture this scene. Year 11 comes, and there's a list of students' profiles. And they're going, yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe. And they took her picture and they said no. Now, what that power was who's going to get those grades. Now, I remember her English teacher, amazing woman. She was assistant head at the time. And she said, I know she's going to get the English grade. And don't get me wrong, she pushed back sometimes with her teacher. But the teacher was like, no, she's going to get it. Because I know how she learns. And I'm going to make sure she gets it. She goes, she may not get an A, but I'm going to make sure she passes. And guess what? She passed. Now, I remember maths. I remember, you know, knowing that because of certain things and confidence and, you know, unfortunately, if someone doesn't really see you and instills that in you, you come to school and you may not do homework, you may not participate in a lesson. But as I always say, there's always more to the behavior that you see. There's always more. And here's what happened. This child, by the time she was in year 11, she was a different child. She was doing homework, she was revising. But sometimes it's just too late. And I remember exam day, I knew deep down, I knew what the maths grade was going to say. But I knew she'd have to go back to college and do it. I knew it, but I knew she'd pass. And I remember having this conversation with a dear friend of mine at the time. And, you know, she was like, you know, she's not going to get it. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I almost didn't want to have to see her face on that day, but we move. So exam day comes, results day comes, she opens it. Obviously, she didn't get the grade. She's tearful. And I remember saying to her, you will get it in college. You will. Here's what happened. In college, it was new spec. Yeah. And obviously in college, you don't get the same input that you do in school. So all of these things, she thought the odds was against her. And I remember having a conversation with that colleague, and the colleague was like, she's never going to get it. And I was like, who told you that? And she was like, because she's just not that smart enough. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, if we're going to box kids into if they're smart enough, just because that's what you're seeing at the time, it doesn't mean it's true. Behavior just discloses. Behavior just shows you something. It just shows you how someone's feeling. If someone's angry and they're angry at you, there's a reason why they're angry. They're showing you something. They're showing you their hurt. They're showing you their pain. And it's important that we move from this. As I said, this video is for parents. This video is for young people. Parents, we need to talk to our children. We need to ask them questions about what is going on in school. When they go, yeah, everything was good. Ask them, sit them down. They're in college. Ask them. A lot of our kids are getting stopped and searched and they're not telling you nothing. A lot of our kids are getting punched up, rushed on the way to school, rushed after school, and they're not coming home and they're not telling you nothing. We're not talking to our kids. Kids, start talking to your parents, start talking to your family, start talking to somebody who you trust. Say you want a better life. Say you want a different life. I remember talking to a footballer now. He's in a premiership team, under 23s. And I remember him sitting there and he said, Miss, I'm tired. I'm tired of the gruesome training schedule. I'm tired of it. I'm not going to make it. And I'm sure he's probably not where he wants to be. And I think sometimes that's what we focus on. We don't focus on actually where we are. And again, I just wonder how many people did he vocalize that to? I'm pretty sure probably not many. But I'm going to go back to Michaela Brown. Please believe she passed the maths result the following year. And she sent me that picture of that maths result. as I said, I've got stories for days and days and days and days and days. You know, Unity, wanting to be a lawyer. When she went to university, Surrey University, she sent me the picture of Surrey University. Now, this is not about, you know, some kids start uni and don't finish uni. Some kids don't go to uni. This is not about university. This is about somebody finding their true power. And if there's anything I can do. Now, here's the truth of it. There's an element that I love what I do with young people, and that will never change. But there's a lot of work to do with adults, because here's the truth of it. In order to embed the change, the culture change that needs to happen in sport, the culture change that needs to happen in education, we, as leaders of this change, and I don't mean leaders in the title, because you can be a cleaner, you can be the groundsman, you can be whatever, and you are still a leader because you come into contact with people. Because who knows, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has their own individual passion. So it's really about what we do ourselves. It's really about where we go ourselves. We've got to develop well-being and mindset. You know how many people, how many adults wait till the weekend and they go and they drink, and then the truth comes out about their life, how they're so unhappy at home and they're hitting on somebody because at home they're not. Listen to me. As I said, this is not pertaining to everybody in the world. But what I am saying, it happens. Do you know how many people are unhappy at home? Do you know how many kids are unhappy at home? They go home and they go straight to their bedroom. And we're sitting here so bogged down with our own life that we don't even realize that our own kids are not happy in our house. Listen, and listen to me, good parents. Listen to me good, and listen to me real good. Young people, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you want to act, sing, dance, be an accountant, be a mechanic, it doesn't matter. You have one thing that you should deliver for yourself, and that's find out what your potential is, your own potential for yourself. And it's important that when you do that, when you find that, I always say a coach and a mentor needs a coach and a mentor. And we need to create a whole ripple effect with this. Everybody needs a coach or a mentor. Everybody. I don't care what age you're at. I don't care where you are in your journey. And I'm not saying that that person every day speaks to you. But we all need to grow. We all need to develop. So I'm going to leave you with this thought right now. And this is the last kid. And I'm not going to say this child's name. But I remember sitting in my office. And I remember the phone rings and someone's just crying, and I'm like, hello, who's this? And I get to find out it's a parent, and she's like, I don't know who else to call. And she says to me, my child just tried to commit suicide. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh. And this child used to be in my year group, and I guess that's why the parent called me. And she said, I just don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. And she was just crying. Now, here's what I say to that. Here's what I say. This child had gone into sixth form. Now, was around so many adults. Yet that parent still didn't know who else to call. And what was sad was, when I then had to share that with other adults so we could ensure that she was supported, I couldn't even get to go to the hospital. You're advised not to. You know, a child gets stabbed, don't go to the hospital. You know, you're in a professional context. And I really just want to really send a message to these organizations, these sporting organizations, anyone that serves young people. You know, if you're a community organization and you work with young people, I want you to ask yourself, am I safeguarding my young people? When you're hearing certain things and you're hearing certain languages and you're like, well, that's just standard. I was like that. And you're saying to them, you know, be careful. Is that enough? Is those things enough? When you're working with young people and you know that they're going through stuff and you're just like, I'm here. How are you there? Ask yourself, are you doing enough? Parents, I urge you, if there's anything you can do, if you've watched this, please share this with another parent. And as I said, this is not about good and bad. At this point in my life, I've dashed that away. This is not even about positive and negative. Sometimes it's just about what's helpful. And ultimately, I'm at that point where we just need to help each other. We're a community. I don't care where you live, whether you live in Croydon, Southwark, East, North, West London, out of the UK. It's not about that. This video needs to touch some hearts. So what I'm going to say to you parents, first of all, hug your kids. Say you love them. Say that same unconditional love that you gave them when they were a child, you're going to continue to do that. Promise that they can come and tell you anything. Children, love your friends. Love your life. There's always more you want to get. Sometimes you've got to start looking at, I use social media, I use things, but actually, is it helping you? Because social media is a very good tool, but it's about how you're using it. Maybe follow the people that's going to be able to inspire you. Maybe give you some knowledge in the things that you want to know. And if you're not sure, please find me. You, from this link, you'll be able to find me and reach all types of socials. And we'll have a conversation. School leaders, individuals. Go there yourself. Please, if you don't have one already, get yourself a coach or mentor. Understand that to embed a culture change, you've got to go there yourself. It's not just about writing a bit of paper. It's really not. And I'm going to give you an example. A young man was sentenced last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, because he killed another boy from he was going to a knife crime workshop, and he killed him either inside or outside, one of the two. Semantics, I'm not going to get into it. And people were like, someone said to me, well, as a CEO, how can you prevent that? How? You can write all the policies. Here's what I'm saying. If we're still going to hide behind paper, what culture change is coming? That's what I'm going to say. My question was, well, how could you have an event like that and not have screening? It just bewildered me. So I ask again, are we doing enough? Is our aim really to support the future? What does that future look like? Are you a leader in your field? Do you want to support change? That's just the question. Listen, I'm gone. I had this message. It was just burning inside me, and I had to deliver it. I had to give it. And as I said, there's anything I can, each individual can take, is cherish what you have, even with the stresses, even with the trauma, even with the pain that you have gone through in your life or going through. There's always more. Find a way. Connect with people that's going to cultivate you, that's going to motivate you, that's going to inspire you, that's going to nurture you, that's going to grow with you. People, stay blessed. Have a good day. Whichever day you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, and whether it's the morning, the afternoon, the evening, the night, just know there's always more. Take care.